Welcome to the 2018 Hall of Fame Luncheon. The program will now begin. She's an award-winning journalist, and he's a trailblazer and media legend. Please welcome Jericka Duncan from CBS News and Detroit's own Donnie Simpson.
Hey! Sorry, I just thought I was a Michael Jackson video.
You can do whatever you want. You are in your hometown.
Oh man, I am.
It is
How y'all
an honor
doing?
to be here. Yeah, how is everybody doing? First of all, I just have to say I am thrilled to be standing next to a legend. I'm getting all that energy over here, and it is just a blessing that I was even asked to do this with you, so thank you.
Well, the blessing is mine to be next to someone so beautiful. My wife is here, so it's okay. My wife of 45 years, Pam.
That's right.
My high school sweetheart. Mumford High School right here in Detroit. Denby in the house. That's my girl. My boo. Born on Halloween, so she truly is my boo. For real.
Well, we're going to get the party started because, you know, we're going to make sure things move along here. Welcome to NABJ. We are happy, we are thrilled to be here today. 3 of our annual conferences, also known as the Family Reunion. Today we are here to celebrate legends and legends in the making.
So you're reading from these things? These are prompters?
Yes, they are. Aren't they amazing? And you have something down here, too.
Yeah, wow. I've never seen, it's like the president.
You sure about that?
No collusion. Fake news. Okay. All right. Anyway, sorry. We're all in this room because we know what it takes to tell a good story. At least that's what y'all know. I do music videos, or did, so I never told many stories. But from newspapers to television to new media, we have all been called to tell it like it is, not fake news. We tell the truth.
This afternoon, 5 journalists will be inducted into the NABJ Hall of Fame in honor of their dedication to this craft. We are also here to celebrate the rising stars of journalism.
Now, this event would not be possible without dedicated sponsors who continuously invest in journalists of color. So please welcome the 110th president of the National Press Club and Al Jazeera News editor, Jeff Ballou. Do we stay up? Oh.
Good afternoon, NABJ. It is my honor, as both a part of the NABJ family and one of the founding colleagues to help launch Al Jazeera English 12 years ago, to bring greetings on behalf of the entire Al Jazeera Media Network family. We are pleased once again to support today's Hall of Fame luncheon, where we honor some of our most deserving colleagues. I want to make this moment count by driving home one essential point as to what is so very important to us all at Al Jazeera, and we hope all of you, that we need to constantly demand and defend press freedom so that we can do our jobs without harassment, intimidation, and even, yes, as in the case of Annapolis, Maryland, death. One glaring example of attempted press harassment that stands out for us in Al Jazeera family is that for 590 days and counting, an unacceptable and unjustified detention of my colleague, Mahmoud Hussein, of Al Jazeera. Mahmoud was snatched up by the Egyptian government while on vacation. With his next hearing coming up on August 27th, we hope that you will help us petition to free our colleague so he can do what everyone else in this room is doing now, either looking for or having a job. In addition, we will be grateful. Coming to your tables shortly will be a petition. Now, we understand not everybody's comfortable signing petitions, but many of you have seen change.org and other petitions. But we intend to take this petition to the United Nations to help free him. And so this declaration of press freedom that's going to be handed to you is going to be very, very important to us to help free him. So in that spirit of what we do and how we should preserve press freedom, we would like to show you a video that drives home better than any words that I could speak, hosted by my colleague Jane Dutton, of why it's so important to demand press freedom.
When the news is restricted and censored,
the press is not free.
When there's external interference and influence and the news is used to exploit, not explain,
فالصحافة ليست حرة.
When journalists' access to information is prevented,
y se rechazan preguntas,
the press is not free.
عندما تتقاعس السلطة عن مسؤولياتها,
and justice never sees the light of day,
no hay libertad de prensa.
人々の意見が沈黙を強いられ、
وتشوه الحقيقة.
And the stories that matter
go untold and unheard. The press
is not
free.
And neither are we.
Please welcome the 21st president of NABJ, Sarah Glover.
I feel like I'm getting chills touching Donnie Simpson. Growing up with Video Soul, this is a great moment. Sorry, 80s, 70s baby. Thank you, Jerika, as well, who I know personally. We're really excited that she's here with us today to celebrate Black excellence and journalistic excellence. Today, I'm so proud to say that we have given out, NABJ has given out $90,000 in student scholarships this year. That is a tremendous figure, and we should all be proud of each other because it's nearly, I believe it's a doubling year over year, so we'll get that exact fact to share with you all. But many of our student scholarship winners you can see on the screen, and myself, I was a student scholarship recipient from NABJ, and so it warms my heart to hear that we're giving out $90,000 this year. And because of that support, we couldn't do what we do today or any day without the support of our partners. So I wanted to also thank Al Jazeera, but draw attention to Coca-Cola, who is one of our proud partners with student scholarships, and Toya Cade and Jessica Williams. You are some of the best folks over there at Coca-Cola, and we appreciate your support and bringing that partnership to NABJ. And so Jessica and Toya, not only do we thank you today, but we thank the entire Coca-Cola family. With that, I'd like to introduce a video for you guys to take a look at the power of Coca-Cola.
This is Willie. He's on his way to work in Alaska. This is John. He's on his way to work in New Mexico. Willie and John both work for us, a business that employs over 90,000 people in the U.S. alone. We are the Coca-Cola Company, and we make much more than our name suggests. We're an organic tea company, a premium juice company. We've got drinks for long days, for birthdays, for turning over new leaves. And all of our products rely on the same thing we all do, clean water, which is why we have John leading our efforts to replenish every drop of water we use. We believe our business thrives when our communities thrive, which is just one of the reasons we help make college a reality for thousands of students. Today, companies need to do more, so John and Willie are trying to do just that. Thank you for listening. We're listening too.
Thank you, Sarah, and congratulations to all the student scholarship recipients. Let's give them another round of applause. My name is Toya Cade, and I am the plant director of the Coca-Cola Bottling Company in Detroit, Michigan. It is about 6 miles away from here, right in the heart of the city of Detroit. Thank you. On behalf of the Coca-Cola Company and Great Lakes Coca-Cola Bottling Company, we are honored to be here and to support the National Association of Black Journalists. Each of the journalists here, the seasoned journalists who have had many experiences along their journey, as well as the student journalists who are learning and observing so they can shape the future, are making an impact in our community. Your voices, your perspectives, and your words are powerful and invaluable. At Coca-Cola, we share the goal of making an impact in the community and using our voice for good. And I'm also here with my colleague, Jessica Williams. She works at the facility as well, and she's our management systems manager.
As you saw in the video, we are rewriting our own story to position Coca-Cola not just as the global brand people know and love, but also as a total beverage company with deep local roots and long-standing commitment to making a difference in the communities our 90,000 system employees proudly serve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Coca-Cola. I mean, how many are still paying off student loans? Yeah.
Be honest.
Yeah. I went to school so long ago, I paid mine off a while ago. It was like $1,500 when I went to school here at the University of Detroit back in 1971. So things have changed a lot.
And obviously those scholarships go a long way, so yeah. Thank you. From investing in the future of journalism to celebrating the rising stars of today, this award recognizes a Black print, broadcast, digital, or photojournalist with less than 5 years of experience in the industry.
In 2010, a passionate young reporter from Teaneck, New Jersey was honored by NABJ after responding to a fire on his beat. Now, only to discover that the blaze was at his own home. All right? Sadly, Michael J. Feeney passed in 2016 after sudden illness.
Michael left an impact on this organization, and this year we are proud to honor another young journalist who is blazing her own trail. Natasha S. Alford is a powerhouse digital journalist, on-camera host, producer, and media entrepreneur.
As deputy editor of thegrio.com, she reports on the most critical news and issues shaping society and culture. Her work tackles a wide range of subjects, including race, gender, education, pop culture, and politics. NABJ, please join us in celebrating the Michael J. Feeney Emerging Journalist for 2018, Natasha S. Alford. Hi, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good afternoon, NABJ. Good afternoon. I would like to thank the members, the board, and the founders of NABJ for this incredible honor. I remember walking into NABJ in 2013. It was in Orlando, and not really knowing too many people, but I was welcomed just like family. People took time to look at my little rookie reel and give positive feedback, and it encouraged me for the journey. Today, I would like to take time to recognize a few individuals, even though there are countless people who helped me on this journey. First, Todd Johnson, who is my managing editor at The Griot, and he gave me a shot. He's a selfless leader, somebody who mentored me, pushed me, and always wanted to see me win and be out front, so thank you. I want to thank my best friend, Amara Amokwe, who is not only a friend, but a fellow journalist, someone who I admire and I look up to, and she's willing to take my call at any hour of the night, even when I have some crazy idea, like, let's make the Black 60 Minutes, and she is willing to collaborate with me and to produce projects with me. I'd like to thank my mother and my aunt, who are both in the audience. They drove from Syracuse, New York, and my father as well. My mother has always had my back in funding this dream. She is a school teacher, and yet every time I call her and I needed help on the journey, when I couldn't pay expensive New York City rent, she would find a way to get that money for me. And I would say, I promise I'm gonna pay you back one day, and she would never take it when I tried, because that's what moms do. So thank you very much, Mom. Thank you to my NABJ Chicago family, particularly Dorothy Tucker, my Northwestern family, Julie Collins, who made sure that there was financial aid money for me when I thought I can't afford to go to graduate school. Thank you to Ava Greenwell and Deborah Douglas, who pushed me when I was a student, and they made sure that I met an excellent bar because that's what Medill produces, but as a black woman at Medill, that I met that high bar of excellence. I'd also like to thank the leadership of the Griot and the entire Griot crew who is in the table over there. Thank you for coming to celebrate me today. Amy DuBois Barnett and Byron Allen, who reminds me that when it comes to this career, it is a marathon and not a sprint. I'd also like to thank the other journalists, the emerging journalists who are in this marathon with me. When you're young and you're starting out, it can be tough. You can be doing a lot with very little. And sometimes it gets discouraging, but I want you to know that you inspire me with your work, and you inspire me to be better every day. Lastly, I want to make sure that tonight we honor the memory of Michael Feeney. I met Michael Feeney just a few weeks after my start at the Griot. He, right away, offered to help and mentor me. And as we often do, we think we have time. 2 months later, he passed away. At 32 years old, at the height of his career, about to start his dream job. And when he passed away, that changed my perspective on life, and that you could be successful, you can ascend in your career, but if you don't serve others with love or make time to give back, then those things don't matter. That was his legacy, even today, and so I'd like to honor him as well. Tonight is very special for me. I dreamed of being here with my family. I didn't know that, I would have this opportunity to be celebrated. Sometimes you feel invisible when you're in the grind and you're working and you're thinking, there's so many stories out there in the world, why would mine make a difference? But I'm proud of what I do, and I'm proud to be a member of NABJ, and I thank you so much for this honor. Another round of applause. What an outstanding accomplishment. Being a journalist of distinction is not something you become. It's a title that reflects who you are. It's not just about the stories you tell, but how well you tell those stories.
As the senior producer of the Black Nouveau weekly public affairs program, our next honoree is using this platform to craft stories that not only reflect the Black community, but the stories that shape our future.
For the past 12 years, he has led this award-winning team. Before that, he had a distinguished career at Maryland Public Television and Howard University's WHUT-TV in Washington, D.C.
Please welcome the 2018 Journalist of Distinction, Everett L. Mashburn.
How you doing, brother? Good afternoon. Obviously, I'm not an emerging journalist, and I'm not going to try to be. This September, I will celebrate my 50th anniversary in broadcasting. Thank you. Most of that in public television. I am a Kerner Commission journalist. They called me, I didn't call them. I was looking for a summer job to start what would have been my senior year of college at Morgan State. And I got a call from the first head of the film department at Maryland Public Broadcasting. They didn't have a summer job. They had a job starting in the fall. I thought about it for a while and said, I'll take it. I started as a production assistant. And before I left in 2002, I was vice president for local productions. Thank you. The biggest thing I learned is that PBS stood for Public Broadcasting Service, not System. And when you think about it, that's really what we journalists do. We are a service. We tell the truth. We tell the stories that help people understand what it is to live in America and the world, and we have to do it honestly, and I am proud to accept this with that understanding. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I want us to take a picture over here.
Here to present the 2018 Foreign Journalist Award on behalf of the NABJ Global Journalism Task Force, please welcome Mr. John Yearwood.
Thank you very much, Jabril and Chika. Where's Jeff Ballou? Jeff, I'd like you to know that on Monday, I was in Cairo speaking at a UN conference on journalism, and during my speech, I called on behalf of NABJ and the International Press Institute for the release of our friend and your colleague, Mahmoud. So the Egyptians got the message, I think, loud and clear that we are advocating and serious about his release. Now on to the Percy Kaboser Award, which is being presented and sponsored as part of a partnership between the NABJ Global Journalism Task Force and the International Press Institute from Vienna, Austria. The Percy Kaboser Award is named for the late editor of the World newspaper in Soweto, South Africa. His powerful columns included coverage of the 1976 Soweto riots and the tragic horrors of apartheid. Chika Adua has also risked her life in pursuit of journalistic excellence. She has bravely reported on the terrorist group Boko Haram, and she was one of the few journalists reporting on the ground where the group operates and was the first international journalist to spend time in the remote Nigerian town of Chibok shortly after Boko Haram terrorists abducted nearly 300 female students at the high school there. Odua also reports on women's health across Africa. This year, NABJ is proud to honor Chika Odua with the Percy Kaboser Foreign Journalist Award. Chika?
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here in your presence, in the presence of such a classy, sophisticated, elegant crop of people. It really, really is an honor. This is actually my very first NABJ convention, so thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm also an alum of the GRIO, so it's so nice to see the GRIO represented here, and Todd and everyone. Thank you again. I actually was in the middle of a reporting assignment in Nigeria when I got this announcement, so I said I have to go to Nigeria, come back, and I wasn't able to actually go home. I actually live in Senegal. I couldn't go home. I couldn't get a change of clothes, so I just came over here and said I got to be here. So it's excellent. In 2012, I made a decision to go to Africa. Having been born there, I left in 1988 when I was 2 years old. So I said, I need to go back. And I tried to figure out where to go. I thought maybe Ethiopia. I thought maybe Ghana. So I said, first, let me go to Nigeria. Let me see what home is like right now. So I have to say, it was the best decision I've ever made. And I'm still there, having moved to different countries. I still get asked, Chika, how are you doing it? You know, Africa is not the easiest place to be. Many countries still don't have 24 hours of electricity. Of course, you have the heat, you have different illnesses that may affect you, but the reason why I'm still there is because of the people. The people really do keep me there. I'm meeting brilliant people who are doing startups, people who are in the health sector, people who are very passionate, who have dreams just like you and I do. And so what I try to do in my work is really try to demystify Africa. I try to educate. I was raised here in Atlanta, Georgia, And whenever I had to introduce myself as Chica in my schools in Atlanta, people would laugh. You know, chicken, Chaka. You know, it's a pretty simple name, Chica. But I got so many taunts and people asking what kind of name is that. You know, I'd have to say I'm from Nigeria, and then you'd get the questions, do you speak African? There's no such language called African, so no, I don't speak African. And then there are the questions, do you live in huts? And do you have a pet elephant? So what I'm trying to do is to demystify. I still get asked those questions, believe me or not. So I try to demystify Africa for people. And in covering Boko Haram, that's been my biggest assignment. And Boko Haram is a terrorist group that is quite dangerous, more dangerous than ISIS, actually. They've killed more people than ISIS, but many people across the world still don't know that. So the abduction in 2014 of more than 200 girls, that really gave fame, if I have to say, to Boko Haram. So I've really been in on that story and trying to tell the world more about Africa, and that Africa is more than just terrorism. You know, there are lots of things happening. So thank you so much for listening to me talk. It's a pleasure being in your company. Thank you again.
Here to introduce the Ida B. Wells Award, D, is Dr. Ava Thompson Greenwell of the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University. Hi, how are you? Oh, you too.
Thank you so much. Today's acknowledgement is given in honor of Ida B. Wells, that fearless journalist, best known for her writing to resist lynchings. She sought liberty and justice for all, writing boldly about Black women being raped and Black people seeking economic parity. Seeking that parity, certainly, and writing about these topics often got her killed. In other words, almost got her killed. For more than 30 years, the Ida B. Wells Award has recognized men and women who were bold in their approach to hiring, promoting, and in working with news coverage about underrepresented groups. This year's award goes to Dr. John C. Watson. When I called him to notify him that he had been selected, his reaction was, "Get out of here." That humble spirit belies more than 40 years of accomplishments. Prior to his current role as a journalism professor at American University, Dr. Watson worked in newsrooms, starting at the Jersey Journal, where he became the paper's first Black editor, hiring dozens of journalists of color. At the time, his newsroom was described as among the most diverse in the region. Now in the classroom, he continues to inspire and encourage. Congratulations to Dr. John C. Watson.
Thank you. My humility is actually based on disbelief. For some reason, I can't imagine myself being mentioned in the same sentence as the prior recipients of this award. I know me. I'm not that good. When they asked for testimonials, a number of people who I have worked with, people who I've hired and mentored and taught, believed I was that good. So this is their award. They showed me that what I did counted. I have never run a huge program for diversity, but I work hard in the tiny little pieces of the world where I live. And I think that is a testament to where this movement to diversity in the newsroom has to go. We the foot soldiers have to do it. We the people who are not known for running major foundations or corporations have to accept it as our individual responsibilities. We may not be able to help thousands, but we might be able to help 2 or 3. And it's our duty to do so. And I hope to continue along that path. My wife, who is my #1 supporter, couldn't be here. But she is a major component of who I am, and she has helped me understand who I am and what I do. When we got married, she moved to Jersey City, where I lived. She's a doctor, a medical doctor, and she was practicing in an affluent section of Queens, but she moved to Jersey City with me. And a little while later, we discovered that because she was practicing in my neighborhood, the federal government was repaying her loans from medical school. And she said, you know, they really shouldn't be doing this because I'm going to be doing this anyway. You know, this is where I live and this is what I do. And I said, so you're going to give the money back? And then I ducked. She was born in Brooklyn. I knew she was going to swing at me. But it's true. She does what she does because that's who she is. And I am her mentee, and I do what I do because that's who I am. And I will accept this award in hopes of remembering who I am, what I do, and why I do it. Thank you.
I think you're doing the invocation now. I think we're getting ready to eat.
Is
y'all ready for that? My sister was just teasing me and my wife. You're like, y'all look nice. These people have no idea y'all just stopped by White Castle on the way here. I said, hey, you know you can't take us far from the ghetto. It's like, I'm in Detroit. I'm home, baby. That's what I do.
I didn't even know White Castle was still around.
Oh, yeah. I can take you when we finish. I know where they all are.
I believe we're doing the prayer now. Yes, so we were asked, but Donnie said, I'm going to stay in my lane. You go ahead and take that.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in my lane.
I don't claim for this to be necessarily my lane, but I can pray. We can bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity for us to fellowship together. God, we thank you just for the NABJ organization founded by over 30 Black journalists who saw this vision well before 2018. We ask that you continue to be a blessing on this organization, and we also ask that you continue to remind us that our role is to help the next group and to always use our voices for something good. In the name of Jesus, we pray. It's time to eat.
Amen. Thank you. All right, how was lunch? Or how is lunch? I know, not White Castle, right? I want to personally acknowledge someone that I met that I'm just honored to meet. Benjamin Crump is here, attorney extraordinaire. Take a bow. Man, he's been on the front line for our young brothers, and we appreciate you. I just want you to know that. Thank you. Roland Martin, my man, second cleanest man in Detroit. Right now, I got to acknowledge Judge Strong, who's a legend in Detroit. Where's the judge? There he is over there. Judge Strong in pink. I'm telling you, when Morris Day comes to Detroit, he goes, "Who is that?" and goes to change. Thank you. So anyway, just a couple of quick acknowledgments. In 1961, as the United States was sending its first man into space on the Freedom 7, Albert Dunmore was soaring to new heights.
Dunmore started at the Michigan Chronicle during turbulent times in Detroit and the nation. He used his craft to challenge the African American community to commit to self-determination, a challenge we are still striving toward today.
In honor of the stories he told and the change he made, here's a look at why Albert Dunmore is being inducted into the NABJ Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame inductee, Albert Dunmore. Albert Dunmore is a former managing editor and executive editor of the Michigan Chronicle. Through his news columns, he encouraged racial unification in Detroit and throughout the United States. Dunmore edited the Detroit edition of the Pittsburgh Courier in the 1940s, joining the staff at a time when the big three of black journalism, the Defender, the Courier, and the Baltimore Afro-American, were reaching out for national circulation. During his tenure at the Chronicle, Dunmore held several reporting and editor-manager positions with the Pittsburgh Courier from 1939 to 1959. Dunmore joined the Chrysler Corporation in 1968 as a specialist in urban affairs and eventually became chairman of the board of Chrysler Learning Incorporated. Throughout his journalistic journey, Dunmore exposed racism in the Philadelphia Police Department, investigated segregation in the armed forces during World War II, and escaped threats by the Ku Klux Klan for reporting civil rights abuse in the South. He later won an honor of distinction for a series of articles about the United States Supreme Court ruling to desegregate schools. 2018 Hall of Fame Award recipient, Albert Dunmore.
The Dunmore family could not be here tonight, so we are happy today. Excuse me? Oh, we do have somebody. I apologize. Oh. We have somebody to accept the award. That's a blessing. Here we go. Thank you. We didn't know that. Thank you.
Living color. It is an honor to be here, and I'm a member of the National Association of Black Journalists, and I'm going to tell you that there is nothing like being respected by people who look like you, smell like you, and you know we smell good, and think like you, and you are a VIP group, and that stands for very important but very intelligent people, and it's an honor. Now, they said I only had 1 minute, and I swear I'm not going to do anything, maybe a minute and a half. I'm going to talk fast because of it, but first I want to acknowledge in the spirit of my dad, my two brothers, and I'm going to brag just a little bit because my dad would want me to do that. My brother Jonathan is a CPA that decided he wanted to retire at a very early age and volunteer. That's what people do when they're blessed by God. Jonathan Dunmore, son of Al Dunmore. My brother Stephen Dunmore is the president, no, wait a second, no, it's above president, the CEO of Sodexo Schools, a billion-dollar corporation, a graduate of Harvard University, and he happened to have been at Harvard with a young man by the name of Barack Obama, graduating in the same year. Now, you know that's special. And my mother, who was still living, but because of health challenges could not be here, so she sent her baby brother, 80 plus now, who's sitting there, Dr. Walter Thompson from Minnesota. I'm gonna brag just for 1 second. He is the first African-American foreign language professor at Wayne State University, having taught Spanish and Portuguese. He's got a PhD in linguistics, and after he got his PhD in linguistics, he said, I want to go to medical school, and he's also a psychiatrist with a specialty in internal medicine, Dr. Walter Thompson, my mother's brother. Now that's what black folks do when they get it right. That's what black folks do when they get it right. Now my dad he is smiling from heaven above, and he was about balance. So you know they say the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I like to say the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So someone said, what would your dad say about things that he was not able to see? Barack Obama. He would say that symbolizes the great and the good. And what would he say about our current president? I'm going to go there. The bad and the, help me out, the bad and the ugly. Now, my father was a truth seeker and a teller of stories that only we could tell. And I see Paul Brock, who knows the history of those black pioneer journalists that fought to be where we are today. We stand on the shoulders of the black press. And ownership, certainly, John Sinstack, do you know that name? And you should know it. A man that knew the importance of ownership. Now, I'm going to say this last point, that my dad left the Michigan Chronicle as its editor to work at Chrysler as the first African-American executive with Lowell Perry. They were the first two. So when my father left the black press, he got a call from the chairman of the board. Lynn Townsend was his name. And Lynn Townsend said to my dad, how much will you make us a salary offer? And my father said, well, I'll work for Chrysler if you pay me X amount of dollars. And Lynn Townsend, the chairman of the board at that time, called my father back and said, there's no way we can pay you that. We pay the janitor more than that. So that tells you going from the black press when you only made $1 or $2, but you got a lot of respect working for corporate America. Now I see Lynn Norman, one of the founders, and from Johnson Publications, when my father worked at Chrysler, he was responsible for John Johnson from Johnson Publications to be put on their board of directors. So you see how that works. Each one teach one and you reach out. So what I want to say is that my father, who really certainly understood what Caesar said, I came, I saw, I conquered. He, like so many in the black press and us today, he knew the importance of I came, I saw, and I cared. Thank you so much on behalf of my father, Al Dunmore.
All right. Boy, just to think we almost missed all of that energy. They told us no one was here to accept. We went from no one to the Winans. Oh, man. Sports on the plantation. Sports on the plantation were used as diversions to dull the revolutionary instinct. Those are the piercing words from William C. Roden, the author of The $40 Million Slave.
In 2017, millions turned to his 2006 bestseller to help them unpack the happenings in the NFL. When Colin Kaepernick took a knee during the national anthem, his cry for justice echoed in the hearts of Americans around the world.
Journalists like Roden play a leading role in capturing the history of this country by showing us that black history is indeed American history.
Hall of Fame inductee William C. Roden. Sports writer William C. Roland learned lessons of division and unfairness as it played out on the courts and fields. In 1974, Roland was hired as an associate editor for Ebony. After 4 years at Ebony, Roland took a position as a columnist and jazz critic for the Baltimore Sun, where he worked until 1983. In 1981, he began working as a copy editor for the Sunday Weekend Review section of the New York Times. He later became a sports writer with a regular column in the New York Times entitled Sports of the Times. By the mid-90s, Roland also became a screenwriter, winning the prestigious Peabody Award in 1996 for his work on the HBO special The Journey of the African American Athlete. He's also an author of several books. His first book, $40 Million Slaves, The Rise, Fall, and Redemption of the Black Athlete.
A lot of brothers we know do some good things individually. They all have some nice foundations, okay? But the magnitude of the problems facing our community are much greater than any one foundation's ability to solve it.
William C. Roland is currently a columnist and editor-at-large for the undefeated ESPN's news site about sports, race, and culture, and has appeared as a guest on ESPN Sports Reporters for nearly 30 years. 2018 Hall of Fame Award recipient, William C. Roland.
Hall of Fame. William C. Roland.
Mad respect, brother. Good to see you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you to the NABJ for the award. She just told me that her father was Ronnie Duncan. He's a great man, if you Google him. No, really. Just a couple things, and congratulations to everybody who's been awarded. It's just really difficult to be, I mean, there's so much competition in our field that just to be acknowledged is wonderful. So I was trying to think of, well, what are you going to say? They say a minute, so what are you going to say? Thanks, my brother, for extending the time. And congratulations. But I was thinking, well, what are you going to say? You know, what am I going to say? So, well, man, why don't you just say thank you? You know, just thank you. So I'd like to acknowledge a couple new families. I'd like to acknowledge my new undefeated family. Where you guys? Just the undefeated family. You're all over there. And I also, how many of the sports writers, sports task force are in the house? How many folks? Could you stand up and just let people, the great David Aldridge, great Michael Spitz? Yeah, really great, really great. And the reason I'm saying that is that I got news of this. Sarah Glover called me, and I was actually at the NFL draft. I run an initiative called the Roland Fellows, and that's a group of 6 HBCU students who basically learn from me what you're not supposed to do. And then we turn it over to the undefeated during the summer, and they kind of correct everything that I've been telling them. Like, nothing good happens in the office. But they said, well, you got to go in the office. But the reason I was shocked, Sarah called me, and I was at the NFL draft dealing with the Roland Fellows. And so I saw, it was like 10 o'clock at night. I'd been with the fellows, you know, like all day, the draft, and, you know, all these kids getting drafted, and that whole thing. And I told John X. Miller I'd get this column to him by, like, you know, when he woke up at, you know, 6 o'clock. And that's one of the things writers and editors do to each other. We lie. And so, I got the call from, well, it's true. I mean, you're not supposed to say this stuff at an NABJ convention, but that's the reality. But anyway, I got the call at 10 at night, and I was like, oh, man, it was Sarah Glover. And so I said, wow, okay, I'll take it, you know, because I'm on deadline. And I thought that we had just met at Les Payne's funeral, maybe a few days earlier. And I thought, we had said, you know, how we're going to get together, we're going to have lunch and that kind of stuff. And she called me and she said, oh, no, I'm calling to tell you you've been inducted to the Hall of Fame. I was like, really? Wow. You know, I was a little surprised. I'm not surprised by much that happens in this business, but I was like a little surprised and shocked at that. And part of the reason was that, and I mentioned Les, I'm going to kind of get to them because I want to acknowledge somebody, but I was just, you know, back in 1986 or whatever, we had just started the Sports Task Force, and I had this long-running feud with the NABJ, the hierarchy. You know, is Wickham here? He's probably somewhere else. But, you know, but we'd had this long-running feud about the role of sports journalism. Because, back then, it wasn't this multi-billion-dollar industry, and we didn't see it for the plantation that it would become. And so, which is that's another session. But, so I used to always argue with, because I didn't think that the association really respected us. And one year, they even gave a couple awards to a couple white journalists. You know, I'm like, listen, man, you guys got to stop this stuff. It's hard enough for us to break into the sports industry. You guys giving awards to these white guys, because then all the editors say, well, see, we told you, your own team is good, you know, that kind of stuff. So finally, and to let, you know, what they told us, they said, okay, well then, you know, and this is classic, you know, Les Payne. He said, okay, then prove it, okay? Then turn out some great journalism. So we won't do that. And I think that really, and in fact, I wanted the Sports Task Force, I wanted us to secede from the NABJ, really. No, seriously, you can read it. In fact, I was looking at the thing, that, you know, he wrote the thing and he said yes, and in 1982, anyway, okay. Thank you very much. I'm gratified, I'm humbled. This is deeply appreciated. Thank you so much. Could you guys stand up? Thank you.
Well, you need to turn it around a little. Yeah, there we go. Congratulations. You make sure you hold the top because it'll come off.
Oh, yeah. Be careful.
It's loose like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. All right, brother. So good to meet you, man. Oh, man, he was great.
He was.
See, I would get the whole different start playing music on me. That's like time to start, not leave. But she has to tell you.
I do. It's a quick story. I know we're running a little behind, but it does speak to us being a family reunion and how we're connected. My father, a former sportscaster, looked up to Bill Roden. I look up to my dad, and it's all connected. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for all that you do. All right.
All right, our next inductee has played this game for more than 4 decades. As one of the first 3 African-American reporters ever hired by Fort Worth Star-Telegram, he became a trailblazer in North Texas journalism.
His dedication to seeking the truth and reporting that truth has literally saved lives. Here are a few reasons why we must honor the work of Bob Ray Sanders.
Hall of Fame inductee, Bob Ray Sanders. At an early age, Bob Ray Sanders knew he wanted to be a writer. After graduating from North Texas State University in 1969, he began a journalism career and made his mark on 3 media outlets: newspaper, television, and radio in the Fort Worth, Texas market. As a young journalist with the Star-Telegram paper, he served as a courthouse reporter and political writer. He joined KERA-TV in 1972 as a reporter for the station's innovative newsroom program. Over the years, he worked in several capacities for both KERA Radio and KERA-TV and became host and producer of the station's award-winning program, News Edition. In 2007, Saunders was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize for the columns he wrote about Kenneth Foster Jr., who was on death row for being an unwilling accomplice to murder during a robbery. Saunders' columns spotlighted the unjust sentence Foster received. As a result, on the day he was slated to be executed, Foster's time was commuted.
diversity is not a commonly used word in the newsroom anymore, except when they're talking about somebody else other than journalists. No, I felt it important to be a part of all of that, again, with that mission of bringing somebody in after you.
He is a member of multiple journalism associations and has received some of journalism's most prestigious awards in multiple categories. 2018 Hall of Fame Award recipient, Bob Ray Sanders.
Thanks to everybody. I don't receive accolades very well, so I was shocked and was dismissive at first. But let me thank the NABJ and all of you for this honor. And particularly, I'd like to thank the person I think is most responsible for me being here right now, and that's Cheryl Smith, my longtime colleague. I know she had something to do with it because that's who she is. And there are a bunch of folks from the old Dallas-Fort Worth Association. Rochelle Riley, John Yearwood, Cheryl, of course, Paula, Roland, he was a brash young college student back then. And of course, and we thought we were the best chapter in the NABJ, along with Alexis Yancey, wherever she is. And the reason we thought we were is because the things we were doing, and I'll say this briefly and before the band starts playing, even though y'all are good, man. We challenged the media establishment in those days. We challenged the governmental group in those days. When they said they couldn't find any minorities, we gave them a list. We gave them a list, say, oh yeah, we got some for you. And so I just want to say, because I've been meeting a lot of young journalists since I've been here in my short time, I want to say what we used to tell the early folk back then. When you get inside the door, I met a young lady who just started her first job in a Midwestern television station last night. And I told her what I told others. When you get in the door, don't close it. Hold it open. And I'll leave you with this, and I got to say, I got to thank my wife because she's put up with a lot that I've had to deal with, late nights, going away. But the poet Langston Hughes, and y'all know I was going to poet, my friends know this, said, I too sing America. I am the darker brother, and they send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I will sit at the table when company comes, and no one will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they will see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. For I too am America. In this day and time, none of you ate in the kitchen today, but it's because of all those folk who came before you and came before me. And all I ask that you do is to keep opening those doors and making sure that some of those people come out of the kitchen. I got it. Thank you.
Oh, that was fantastic. All right, Teen Summit, Soul Train, 106 in Park. Our show's known for launching the careers of many of our favorite artists. But what about Video Soul? Ain't it right that up there? Fake news. These shows are known for launching the careers of many of our favorite artists. But in 1979, WBZ's Coming Together helped make Ralph, Ronnie, Ricky, Bobby, and Mike household names.
This pioneering television producer not only left her mark on Boston, but the United States of America. Here's a look at the colorful career of Victoria Jones.
Hall of Fame inductee, Victoria Jones. Victoria Jones was a pioneering prolific television news program producer in Boston, Massachusetts. Starting in the 1970s, she worked with Topper Carew on the nationally syndicated program Say Brother. And in 1979, Jones and Tanya Hart created WBZ's Coming Together, a primetime public affairs show that helped launch Boston teen groups New Edition and New Kids on the Block. Jones' most impactful work was at WHDH-TV between 1982 and 2001, where she produced numerous Emmy Award-winning documentaries for the shows Urban Update and Boston Common. Vicki's journalism achievements include traveling the world, covering 4 presidential elections, Nelson Mandela's visit to America, and major news stories in Boston. While producing, she earned a master's in education with honors at Harvard University. She also served as president of the Boston Association of Black Journalists from 1986 to 1988, and as NABJ's Region 1 director from 1995 to 1999. Jones later began teaching at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Denver. Sadly, Victoria Jones lost her battle with uterine cancer in 2016. 2018 Hall of Fame Award recipient, Victoria Jones.
Power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, it never will. Words of Frederick Douglass, and words certainly that describe Victoria Jones, my good friend. When I found out you could honor someone posthumously, I said, Vicki has got to be in the Hall of Fame. And there was a groundswell of support for that. And I just want anybody who did anything or wanted to contribute to this nomination to stand, because the Boston Association of Journalists, all of us who were members then, we may be elsewhere now, but Vicki was our mentor, and she was prolific, fearless, tireless, and so well deserves this honor. This is her daughter, Lisa Jones, who has come here to be with us today.
So, this is very emotional for me. You know, and I want to feel the tears, you know, because my mother has done so much. She was fiercely dedicated to being a journalist, and she accomplished so much in her 30-plus years. You know, and I know many of you, I see many of you who have worked with her, worked on many projects. You know that she was creative, yet very serious about what she wanted to get across. And I think what struck me the most about most of the honorees is that you all sort of came from the same time frame. And I think it is important to reiterate to the emerging journalists that, you know, take the hard stories. You know, you never know where they're gonna go, but you do have to keep the doors open. And that's something that my mom, Victoria, she definitely did the hard stories. She opened the doors, you know. When Boston, you know, because Boston was very controversial, you know, in the 60s to 70s, you know, all the way. And Victoria took the time to create those stories. She did the community base. She won many awards. I feel like I'm an honorary journalist because I've been there with her throughout her career. So I'm just very proud to be here. I can't thank Alexis, Robin Washington, many others for, you know, nominating her, because I think she would be honored. I never think of her in the past. I always think of her now. I think she's still a journalist. You know, she's still here, you know? And I just want to say, you know, she did some great work, and we appreciate all that you guys have have done to get me here. She has 2 grandchildren, my sons, Solomon and Asante. They would have loved to have been here. Solomon is very much taking after his grandmother. He's a writer. He's very intuitive. And, you know, he sees the world as the world is, and I appreciate that in him. So, again, you guys, please just, you know, keep the movement going, take the hard stories, do all that is necessary to make sure that we thrive and that we strive each and every day. Thank you again.
In a society where students are graduating with plans of going straight to a major network, our final inductee was reared in a different time.
In 1936, while Jesse Owens was busy winning 4 gold medals and the BBC was launching its first public broadcast, a 23-year-old budding journalist began working for the black press.
Here's a look at the astonishing career of Louis Martin.
Hall of Fame inductee, Louis E. Martin. Louis E. Martin was known around the nation's capital as the godfather of black politics. He was also a newspaper editor and advisor to 3 American presidents who sought his counsel on race matters. Martin was a key player in developing the black support that helped elect John F. Kennedy to the presidency and worked with President Lyndon Johnson to enact the Civil Rights Act of 1964. After earning his BA in journalism from the University of Michigan in 1934, he began his journalistic career as a freelance writer in Havana, Cuba, and then in 1936 was hired as a reporter with the black newspaper, the Chicago Defender. After 6 months in Chicago, he returned to Detroit to help launch the Michigan Chronicle, serving as its first editor and publisher. From 1969 to 1978, Martin served as vice president and editorial director of the Sing Stack newspaper chain that owned the Director, the Chronicle, and the Pittsburgh Courier. He was the chain's president from 1976 to 1978 and wrote weekly columns for the Defender from 1987 until his death in 1997. 2018 Hall of Fame Award recipient, Louis E. Martin.
And here to accept the honor on behalf of the Martin family is Roland S. Martin.
So it's a slight correction. The S was silent, actually pronounced Louis Martin. The reason I nominated Louis Martin is because one of our 44 founders, Alex Poinsett, wrote a book on Louis Martin called Walking with Presidents. When you hear they say the godfather of politics, he is considered the most important figure of bringing African Americans into politics, serving as the advisor to President John F. Kennedy and President Lyndon Baines Johnson. But the reason he was nominated because when he was sent to Michigan, Robert Sinstack, who owned the Chicago Defender, wanted to have this newspaper here, and it was his coverage of the race riots in Detroit that challenged the automobile companies in this city, that challenged corporate America to open its doors to African Americans, that challenged public housing. And so you think about his political activism, but his political activism came out of his activism as a member of the black press. That's important because here we stand in 2018, and while many of us are grateful to work in mainstream media, it was Dr. King who said in his book, of course, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, he said that the black press must remain militant when it comes to speaking to the issues of black people. And so It's important for us to recognize folks like Louis Martin and for our members to understand that you can go in many other areas, but you can do great things when you start in the black press. And as somebody who's run 3 black newspapers, I make it clear, whether you're on national media, ABC, CNN, or whatever, you can be unapologetically black, and that came out of being in the black press. And so, accepted on behalf of Louis Martin's family, and we will certainly get the award to them as well. And if you're in Detroit, please subscribe to the Michigan Chronicle, because we've got to ensure, as the first black newspaper said in 1827, we wish to plead our own cause, too long have others spoken for us.
Wow. It's over. This has been fun. Hope you all have enjoyed it. I'm honored to be here today. Honored to work with you today. It's been fantastic. You're an amazing woman.
Thank you. It's been real.
Well,
I can't
you.
believe it. Donnie Simpson! But before we go,
oh, you're going to plug my book here?
He has a book.
Coming.
You can look it up. Coming, that's right.
Coming, Through These Eyes. We just announced it here yesterday, but it's coming on my birthday, January 30th. So make sure you check it out, all right?
Mark
Through
your
These
calendars.
Eyes. All right.
Well, of course, before we go, please welcome to the stage again, President of NABJ, Sarah Glover, back to the stage for some last-minute remarks. Thank you all. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's luncheon has truly been inspiring and invigorating. It brought the dose of good news we so desperately need right now. You know, don't you agree? This is an industry under siege. I want to thank each and every person for attending the Hall of Fame luncheon this afternoon. I also want to recognize our sponsor, Al Jazeera, for supporting NABJ's 43rd annual convention and career fair, and the Coca-Cola for their contribution to the scholarship fund. Al Jazeera is engaged in a year-long campaign advocating for free press, as we heard earlier this evening from Jeff Ballou. And Al Jazeera invites journalists and citizens of the world to sign a pledge form that supports press freedom, and you can see that right at your tables. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony is our marquee event at the convention. It also is the highest honor bestowed by our organization upon journalists. So being selected is a really big deal. Congratulations to the 2008 class of Albert J. Dunmore, Victoria Jones, Louis Martin, William Roland, and Bob Ray Sanders. We are forever thankful for your contributions, and we're appreciative for your mentorship, and we are all indebted to you all for your service to this profession, journalism. And although 3 of our inductees, Dunmore, Jones, and Martin, are no longer with us, their presence is certainly felt in the room. Each inductee's body of work serves as a beacon and a reminder of the importance of our role in society. These trailblazers made a significant impact in the communities they served as journalists in a time when their work was not always welcomed, nor was it always respected, but each of you persevered, so thank you. NABJ's young journalists are a force to be reckoned with too. 75% of our members are millennials and also from the Generation X. This year's Michael J. Feeney honoree, Natasha S. Elford, is making significant contributions in digital journalism at the GRIO. And journalism is actually, I believe, your second career, is it not? Chika Adua, this year's Percy Kaboza winner, shined a light on the perils experienced by the Nigerian girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. This year's Journalist of Distinction, Everett Marshburn, told the untold stories of Black people and Black Nouveau. That is his weekly, or was his weekly, public affairs program. An Ida B. Wells recipient, Dr. John Watson's impact on newsroom diversity is evident in the careers of so many journalists who are now transforming the industry today. And so we aspire to be like our honorees. We honor their efforts and memories by carrying the baton forward. And that is the call to action I leave with everyone. The call to action similar to that Mr. Roden talked about when he pressed forward, not only in his career at ESPN and et cetera, but to put forward the Roland Scholars and Fellows. Each of us has that same role, and we push forward where you all have left off, and some of you continue to go forward. The fight to have a seat at the table, our voices heard, our communities recognized, and our story told continues. We cannot and we must not, and we will not forget that. So thank you again for attending the luncheon this afternoon. I hope you enjoy the rest of the convention, and hopefully I'll see you all at the Salute to Excellence. And while you don't have to go home, you do have to leave this room because we have another event coming in. So have a great remainder of your afternoon. I hope to see you at the WEB Du Bois Plenary at 4:30. Thank you.